The Mortal Kombat video game series has a long and storied history. Its impact on the industry, and even pop culture as a whole, cannot be denied. However, with all of the changes to the lore in MK1, and even the gameplay, it made me miss everything that Mortal Kombat once was. Now, with the Legacy Collection on the horizon, I wanted to take a look back at its focus, the arcade era of Mortal Kombat. To do so, I first want to explain how I came to know Mortal Kombat myself.
My introduction into fighting games was Street Fighter II. It is the original 1v1 fighting game. It's the one that started the whole genre. I did play it in the arcades, and I owned it on Super Nintendo. Back in these days, my oldest brother Jimmy lived nearby and would come over to play this game with me pretty much all the time, and we were very competitive with it. It was actually him who started telling me about a new game he was seeing in the arcade where the fighters would actually bleed when you hit them. Lo and behold, later on, I would eventually find out that the name of that game was Mortal Kombat. While the original game only had 7 playable characters, those characters were created using real-life actors being digitized to create a lifelike appearance for that time. It became very popular very quickly, ultimately due to its shock value. The realistic nature of all the blood and gore sent shockwaves through the arcades, through the communities, and got everyone talking, including the parents and the politicians of the time who didn't want their kids being exposed to such graphic violence without some sort of oversight. Mortal Kombat was a huge factor in the video game rating system being created. By the time we got Mortal Kombat 2, those labels were slapped on everything. I never did own the first one, but by the time Mortal Kombat 2 was coming to the home systems, I did ask my mom if she'd get it for me for Christmas on the Sega Genesis. She was reluctant. We had several conversations about how the blood and gore wasn't going to affect me. I just enjoyed the realism, and it helped me calm down. This was my therapy when I was a kid. Was when I was being bullied, I came home and played Mortal Kombat to beat up those characters instead of beating up somebody at school. Granted, I do understand her reservations because in 1993, when Mortal Kombat 2 came out, I was only 10 years old.
By this point, Mortal Kombat was becoming entrenched into the pop culture scene of the time. Comics, action figures, other toys, and, of course, movies. The impact of the 1995 movie is even felt in the modern games, with characters being inspired by its looks and actors reprising their roles.
When I play Mortal Kombat 11 now, these are the versions that I'm going to use every time. As I was putting stuff together for this video, I decided to go ahead and watch the movie and kind of have it playing in the background, but even my cat Ambi had to go ahead and watch that intro, proving it to be the best movie intro of all time. Of course, a really big part of what makes that intro so great is the theme song. In fact, a huge part of the entire movie is the soundtrack. The Mortal Kombat theme itself was everywhere at this time. Dance clubs, pep rallies, anything you could think of where there was music being played, the Mortal Kombat theme was probably in there somewhere. Now we're on to Mortal Kombat 3, and this is the first time the franchise did the whole releasing a game and then not too long after that, releasing an updated version of the game with more characters. I was one of those who did not like Scorpion being left out of the first version. To me, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, both of those are pioneer characters who should always be in every edition of the game. By the time MK3 was released on home consoles, Ultimate MK3 was already starting to pop up in arcades, so I questioned whether or not I'd even want the original version of MK3, knowing the Ultimate version would come later. Then came Mortal Kombat Trilogy. This was the one I knew I had to have. I waited for it because it was going to add everything that Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 had, plus even more characters, bringing back Johnny Cage, Baraka, and a few variations of other characters like Raiden and Kano. You could even select the boss characters like Shao Kahn and Kintaro that you could not play as in previous games. To this day, this is my Mortal Kombat. This is the versions that I think of off the top of my head. When I imagine any of these characters, this is how they look, this is how they sound, this is what plays in my head at any point that I'm not watching or playing some other version. Up until MK11 made the movie versions available, I was constantly trying to recreate these looks if they weren't already in there. Mythologies does get a lot of flack for being a bad game, but for me, it does still hold a special place in my heart because it was the last one created using digitized actors. Since this game was intended to be Sub-Zero's origin story, you actually got to choose whether or not you'd kill Scorpion towards the very beginning, and if you did, then towards the end you had to fight his Spectre version later. However, if you left him alive, that part of the game just never happens. On the PlayStation at this time, a popular trope was to use live-action and full-motion videos as a way to fill in the gaps in between stages and move the story forward. This game took full advantage of that, using the team that was already doing the martial arts and stunt work anyway to provide the dialogue necessary. This game was also Shinnok's first appearance and used to set up his story in Mortal Kombat 4 and Mortal Kombat Gold. MK Gold was basically the ultimate edition of MK4, and it was exclusive to the Sega Dreamcast, which is pretty much the main reason why I bought that console. By this point, 3D fighters such as Virtua Fighter and Tekken had joined the fray and shown that 3D was possible for fighting games, so Mortal Kombat tried their hand at it, and their first attempt wasn't that great, because it was very stiff and hard to move in the 3D space, but for its time, it was still fairly visually impressive.
To wrap things up here, the arcade era of Mortal Kombat didn't just introduce the games. It defined what the franchise would always stand for: brutality, creativity, and larger-than-life characters. The first 4 games laid the foundation for every fatality, every reboot, and every new generation of fans that would follow. For me, these games weren't just something I played, they were something I lived. From the overcrowded arcades to late nights on my Sega Genesis, Mortal Kombat was everywhere and in everything. It quickly took over every media outlet possible, and I had to have my hands on all of it. Comics, toys, cartoons, movies, music, anything with that famous dragon logo was up for grabs. To this day, the arcade era of Mortal Kombat remains prominent in my life. Whether it's action figures on my shelves, theme songs in my playlists, or the games ready to go with my PlayStation, Mortal Kombat is not just my favorite video game series. It's one of my favorite franchises, period. While there are most certainly some games that I enjoy playing more than others, my bias for the series makes it so that I can't really say that there's any truly bad games. Honestly, that same concept applies across all forms of Mortal Kombat media. I can legitimately find enjoyment in any of the games, movies, or TV shows. Still though, my favoritism for the arcade era cannot be underestimated. My modern action figure collection from Storm Collectibles is displayed in the characters' forms based on MK2 and 3. I'm still bummed that they no longer hold the license, but as McFarlane Toys releases their versions of missing characters, such as Kitana and Melina, I will likely use them to fill the gaps. With all of that said, I absolutely cannot wait for the Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. Once it is available and in my hands, I will very likely be making a video review for it. What about you guys? What's your favorite era of the games? Do you have one all-time favorite game? Will you be getting the Legacy Collection? Let me know in the comments. Now, for a quick note before we finish up, I utilize an AI voice clone to help me deliver a clear and consistent experience, because of the speaking challenges that I face in my day-to-day life. Don't worry though, this really is my voice that you're hearing. While I absolutely do enjoy sharing my collection and enthusiasm with you all, it became clear to me that recording the speech needed to continue producing videos required more energy and focus than I was able to maintain, especially after an exhausting day as a sales professional. Due to speech impediments such as stuttering and dyslexia, the final product of my earlier videos only came after dozens and dozens of retakes, along with hours and hours of editing. Now that I can rely on my AI voice clone to handle much of that responsibility, I am able to provide a steady supply of engaging content for you, my valued audience. With all of that said, the last thing I want to do is give a quick shout out to the awesome people who helped make this channel possible. My Lionhead logo was created by Brian LeBlanc Fantasy Art, and all of the music you have heard in this video was created by RJ Hughes. Check out their socials in the description to find more of their work. And if you want to see more from me, click on the next video you see on the screen now. I'll see you over there.